All right, today I'm here with a 2008 Porsche Cayenne. This is the 9PA model V6 engine. And the complaint with this, well, I've been given two of them. I'm in a garage. The service writer has told me that there are a bunch of communication codes and I need to deal with that. But the technician on the ground working on the car tells me no. The owner explicitly said he wants his air conditioning working. So I don't know if those two are related. If they are not, well, we'll tell the service writer to choose one of them because I'm not going to do two of those diagnoses on the same ticket. So we need to scan the car and see what's up. Now, I will tell you something about Porsche. When it comes to diagnostic information, we all know that as responsible diagnosticians, you need service info. And if there is a heaven of service infos, I will tell you that God resides in the Toyota Technical Information System. That is a beautiful, brilliant system. You've got all information that you need there. System design is described for you. The DTCs are all laid out and the criteria for setting are all laid out. The wiring diagrams are very simple. A wire is a wire color is a wire color, a motor is a motor, a switch is a switch. It is brilliant. Component locations. When a component location is shown at one place, you rip out a panel, it is exactly where the picture says it is. Now, on the other hand, I think the devil himself resides in the technical information system of Porsche vehicles. This is the most frustrating system that I've ever worked with. The wiring diagrams are messed up. The wiring colors are in weird color codes that are not even matched to anything. English, German, Dutch, nothing. The component locations are taken on an aerial shot. It's like you're doing a diagnosis with a drone. It's ridiculous. I've never seen any kind of technical information system as badly laid out as Porsche. And then they don't give you information. Then they call things differently. A PCM is not the normal PCM, you know. I mean, it's really ridiculous. So when you come and do Porsches, you have to come with a very clear mind, plenty of rest, and have a very patient mindset. If you fought with your wife, don't come here and do a Porsche diagnosis. I can guarantee you the little that she left you with, this thing will take you out. So I was here last night and I did a preliminary scan because I wanted to do my homework, and this is what I came up with. Let's come here to the local, and there's a viewer who asked me on email, is that really a Think Diag that you use? Yes, sir, it is. You are surprised because it is one of the cheapest scan tools on the market. There's actually a reason for that. I do everything intentionally. I'll discuss that in a later video. So we have got the SRS system with one code, not interested in that. A gateway, implausible signal, that's on the air conditioning. Instrument cluster, complaining about the gateway and the PCM. And the gateway is saying that the comfort can is off. That is a clue. And I think we may actually start there. Then the vehicle electrics. Got a few communication codes with the headlights and stuff like that. The rear doors, can comfort system, panoramic roof, can comfort system. So can comfort system seems to be the central thing that is common with a lot of these codes. So what we're going to do is to look for the gateway. I attempted to do that last night, and I will tell you, I already saw the devil. Let me show you. So first, let's come to the service information, and I'll show you what the service manual, the repair manual, says about where the gateway is. Now, shout out to charm.li. If a lot of you are looking for a free resource, this has quite a number of wiring diagrams and service manuals for cars up to 2013. They have laid it out in their custom format, but it is actually the correct information from the OEM that's in here. So let's go to Porsche 2008 and Cayenne 9PA V6 repair and diagnosis. We're going to look for relays and modules, accessories, optional equipment, and it's in the general module location. Locations. Here we have the gateway and the PCM. Now the PCM is the radio in Porsche world, but look at the gateway. If I open that, it tells me component arrangement. Number 1. Why does it tell me it's the instrument cluster? Because it says here, instrument cluster has an integrated gateway. So you'd think that the gateway is inside the instrument cluster, okay? But now let's go to the wiring diagram. So let's come here to the Cayenne 9PA. This is a different system, by the way. It's not the Charm LI site, although they have it there, but I don't like their layout there. Model year 2008. And let's look for the CAN topology. Here's my CAN topology. Let's zoom in. And at the front of the car, is what I was telling you, a drone shot of component locations. Ridiculous. So you've got the instrument cluster, but then you have a separate gateway. So which is it? Is the gateway in the instrument cluster, or is the gateway separate? Well, from our codes, if we go to the codes again, I want you to note, it says here, instrument cluster, there is no communication with the gateway. So from this, I'm inclined to believe that the instrument cluster is separate from the gateway because it's looking for the gateway. So I'm going to assume for now that this is correct. Let me get one of the guys to come and pull apart this, and we'll look for the gateway in there. If we don't find it, we're coming to the instrument cluster. All right, I told him to remove the glove box, and he tells me he can't find the gateway, and I can't find it either. I'll show you that in a minute, but let's come back here to service information. And I want to show you an alternate place that I found. Here, component locations. All the component locations listed, the one thing that's missing, believe it or not, is the gateway. So let's come here to accessories and optional equipment. And we're going to go to the central control module. Notice how names are changing. Now we've got the central control module. And now we have here removing and installing gateway control unit. Tells you that you need to have the POS with you, which is a scanner. And look. Remove cover under instrument panel on the passenger side. Under dashboard, remove the dashboard. So look here, it says that it's under the dashboard. And after removing the dashboard, it gives you its location. So according to this diagram right here, that location is behind this panel. Let me show you what's behind that panel. So here's my passenger side. Glove box removed. We're going in. You see that? See what I told you? That location is not correct. But then I found this. This to me looks like a gateway connector. So I asked the guy, hey, where did you keep the glove box? Told me it's in the boot. Let's go to the boot. The gateway, believe it or not, is actually attached on the back of that damn thing. So there's my glove box. And what do you see? Right behind it is the gateway. This is ridiculous. So let's remove that, and we're going to go back to the glove box front, where the connector is, and then we're going to plug this in, and now we can do our tests. Man. All right, before we go to that gateway, we need to go to the wiring diagram and see what is connected to the comfort can line. So let's come here to the wiring. And man, my blood pressure is already rising. Woosa. So this is the CAN network. Let's zoom in here. That's our gateway. And we have the comfort CAN low and comfort CAN high. So we're going to come here and take our highlighter. Come here to the comfort CAN low, highlight it, and come here to the comfort CAN high and highlight it. And then we are going to follow these traces, and we're going to highlight every single line that comes out of the splice, because we want to see what is connected to this. So this is going to take a while. What I'll do is just highlight this quickly, and then we'll be back. Okay, all of them are highlighted. And now what we're going to do is to come here to our filter off, and I want to see only what is highlighted. But we're going to take all these systems and we're going to write them down. I'm just going across the line here. So I'm starting with pass, and then it is circuit 12, E6. That's what I'm writing down. Then the next one is the tire pressure monitoring, circuit 21, E3. Air conditioning front, circuit 6, D4. And I will go all the way down this line. So let me put on the screen what the total list looks like. And now in this list, we've got things that don't make sense. For example, we've got the VR door here, 7A E9. Then we've got another door, HR 78E11. I don't know what VR is. I don't know what HR is. So what I'm going to do is now to come out of this. We go to our circuit list, and then we start from the top and we go to pass. We know is 12E6. So we come here to 12 is Porsche access system. So we write that down. And then on the VR door, we've got 7A, one of the VR door. You can see here 7A is the passenger's door. We've got another door, HR, it's 7B. So 7B is the rear doors. So we're going to go down this line again and populate it so that we can see exactly which systems we have. So now that we know what our entire list is, we can proceed with our troubleshooting. So quickly, we're going to go back in here into the gateway module. Look at the gateway here, zoom into that gateway, and I want to see where my CAN low and high is. So it is A5, and the wire color is right here, OGBN. I think it's orange and brown or orange and black. I'm going to look for it. And then there is the CAN high here, the comfort high, OGGN. I think it may be orange and green. So let's go now to that connector. We will separate it, and then we will prepare it for probing with our picoscope. All right, let's do this. I'm going to disconnect this gateway. The first thing we need to do is to cut that cable tie here. Then we're going to remove the inner connector. And if you're not new to this channel, you know how dangerous this can be. Look at the video for the Audi S5 that was messed up because of this. Very simple. Now, this is very easy to mess up. So I always just take a Sharpie and I'm going to mark the front of that, and I know that it goes with, there's already a mark here actually, like that. That way I will never plug it in backwards. And then I also put a dot on my gateway, because you know the consequences of plugging this thing in backwards. So now we don't have the forced orientation of that connector. I can plug it in like this, I can plug it in like this. You plug this thing in wrong, God help you. All right, ready for probing. And now we look for connector A5. Actually, let me look in here. So the way this is oriented, number 1 to 10 is at the top, 11 to 20 is at the bottom. And I am looking for 5 and 15. So this is 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. That'll be my can high. And then right opposite it is my can low. One, two, three, four, 5. Okay, we are ready. Let's go to the Pico. Okay, we are ready with the Pico. Let's turn on the ignition. And, oh, interesting. Look at that. Let me pause the scope. And we turn off the ignition. And check this out. So at first glance, everything looks okay. If you zoom in here, we have very good CAN communication. But look at this. Occasionally we have this where we are missing the low. Interesting. The termination signal is there. So this doesn't appear to be a wiring issue. There's a module here that is not working correctly, because the end is there. The end data pack. I don't know what to call it really. I've forgotten. But at the end, you can see this one rises up higher than the rest. We still have that here. So we have a module in the system that is not communicating on both wires. It's only communicating on single wires. And I think I saw that in our data. Let's go back to the scan tool and see if we see an error code for a single wire. So back in the scan tool, you can see the air conditioning says gateway implausible signal, but down here on the rear doors, we see CAN comfort in single wire operation. So that confirms what we're seeing on the picoscope. We have single wire operation on a module, and it's being seen by the rear doors. And this is an issue. So this is very interesting. What I want to do now is I want to pull the air conditioning unit, and I want to see if we have proper communication back here, because this is somehow saying that the gateway signal is implausible. I want to see what the CAN signals look like in there, because they are actually good from the gateway, apart from that one packet that is single wire. So let me call the guy to pull that out. Okay, that has been pulled. And I have my green channel on the CAN high and my yellow channel on the CAN low. We're still taking the other one on the gateway over there. Let us come here and put the key on. And That's very interesting. So let me put the key off and pause the scope. All right, let's see what is going on here. We have very clean data. It's exactly the same. And we also have that missing can low on this packet. I do not know why the AC is complaining that the data is invalid from the gateway. This data is looking like it's valid, unless it's somehow being sensitive to this kind of thing here. So I don't know. Next, I want to get this module. Now, this car has got many modules, and going through the wiring diagram is a pain. So what I'm going to do is to leave the key on, and then I'm going to come to my fuse box over here, and I'm going to disconnect the fuses one by one until that funky pattern quiets down. And when that happens, I will now ID what that fuse is. Now, this is very interesting. I popped the fuses one by one and returned them. Pattern did not change. I went to the left side. It also has a fuse box. Popped them one by one. Pattern did not change. Then I came back here because the left feeds this right, and I removed every single fuse here. So the fuse box was empty. And guess what? That pattern on the can still remained. So I have to look for another strategy, and I found something interesting on the scan tool. So let's go to the scan tool, and then we are going to proceed with a different strategy. All right, back here in our scan tool, let's go to our gateway and show you something interesting. We're going to go to our special functions, and in here there's a single wire test. Now this test, the scan tool scopes all the CAN inputs, and it says which one is communicating on dual wire, which one is communicating on single wire. If it's communicating on dual wire, you'll see normal. If it's communicating on single wire, you'll see single wire. And if it's not communicating at all, you're going to see 3 dashes. So either the system doesn't exist in this installation, or it's there but it's not communicating. So single wire, we have the rear, and this is the rear comfort module, and then we have the rear right door and seat memory left. Now keep that in mind, seat memory left. Okay, and then everything else is either not present or communicating on dual wire. Now watch this. I know for a fact that this car has got a right seat memory, but you can see here there's no communication. Now we go out of here, and we are going to go back to our main menu. And now let's go to this. Look at this. Why do we have the driver's seat memory here, but on that menu you saw it was the left seat memory? Well, let's go in here and read fault codes, and there are no DTCs, which meaning this seat is actually present and communicating. Okay, so this makes me believe there's something up with maybe the network itself. I originally thought it was a module, but I'm beginning to suspect maybe we have a wiring problem. Now let's go back into the gateway here. Let's read our fault codes. You can see here CAN comfort is off, but if you go to our Pico, you notice that our CAN comfort, not only is it on, it's communicating. Why? Because we are actually communicating right now on that network if we go into one of these modules. So let's go to the something on the comfort module. Actually, we're already in there, but let's go to the rear door. That's on the comfort module. And as you can see, we're in here, and we can read the fault code. It says here CAN comfort in single wire operation, and then rear right door control module has no signal or communication. Now, why do I have no communication on the rear right? But it says here CAN comfort in single wire communication. Something is wrong with the network itself. On our Pico, we can see that occasionally we see a module that does not have the CAN low. Now, the reason why I was thinking it's a module is because that end of the packet is always present. So let's go back to the Pico, and then we are going to see what I'm talking about. So here I am in my network for the comfort module, and this is live. I'm still connected to the gateway. Now, let me pause, and I want you to look at this. Each time you have this, you have this bit here. Now, I was assuming originally that this is a module because I'm thinking this whole thing is a communication from the module. But if that's the case, why do we have this, and why then do we have this here? So I did some studying up, and I found out what I knew about CAN was not actually accurate. This is what is actually happening here. This is a CAN frame, but the message from the module only is from the starter frame, which is here, and here is the end of the message. This bit here is an acknowledgement bit from the module that is receiving this message. So this message is being transmitted, and when that module receives it, it transmits an acknowledgement bit saying it has received it. And this message is from the module. Guys, knowing that, then this is not a module problem. This is actually a wiring problem. Somewhere on our network, we have a CAN low wire that is cut from a certain splice point, and everything after that is transmitting on single wire. Now, knowing that, we can get a clue from our gateway itself. On the special functions of the gateway, we saw that on the single wire test, it shows 3 items that are being transmitted on single wire: rear comfort module, right rear door, and memory seat left. Now, that memory seat left is kind of tripping me because the module that's showing up on the other side is the right module. I don't know what's up with that, but I have decided the course of action is to tell this guy to remove everything from this car that will be in ways of the harness. There is a harness that goes on the left lower side and the right lower side. Then there is the left seat, the right seat, and then the rear door. I want those opened so that I can do my testing. All right, we're here in the wiring diagram, and I have marked up my lines of interest. So we have the control module for the memory seat. Then we have got the door, and then we've got the comfort systems for the rear. Now there's this other control module for the memory here. What's happening with the scanner, because it's telling me that it is the left, which is this one, that is communicating on single wire, but on the control module list only the right shows up. So I don't know what's up with that, but I'm sure we'll get to the bottom of it. So if I come here and I'm going to filter, remove all the other lines so we can see only these lines. Now we can see that these ones are spliced here, 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 and up here. So now we have to get a point where we have single wire communication on all these. I can't explain for this one, but if you look here, if we have this node cut from here, for example, see that? SPSC21, if this splice point has a problem, we are going to hit these modules with only a single wire communication. conversely, if this wire has a problem, we're going to hit these modules with single wire communication. But which one is which one? Remember, from our picoscope capture, it is the CAN low that has an issue. So let's go here and see where the CAN low is. This is the CAN low, so let's denotate the CAN high. All right, so we've deselected the CAN high, and now let's view everything and then filter again to remove that. And now we only have the CAN low lines. So logically, we could have either this splice point has an issue, or this splice point here has an issue, or this splice point here has an issue. Okay? I am thinking we are going to go to this splice point. Do you know why? Because it is going to hit everything here with only a single wire communication if it has an issue. So we're going to look for SC29 or SC21. Those 2 points is where we're going to start with. Well, guess what? It's about to get real. I've gone to the service manual, and Porsche does not give us any diagram showing the splice locations in the harness. They give us the diagrams showing connector locations, and they give us the diagrams showing module locations, but they do not give us splice locations. I told you the devil lives in this car. So we have no choice but to cut wires because there are no intermediate connectors in these harnesses. So I'm going to call the technician, and I'm going to tell him to remove the left seat, first of all, because I need access to this battery. The battery is under the seat, and I'm tired of lifting the seat up and down every time I need to make a connection for my scope. Then I'll tell him to remove the panels on the left side of the car, and then also the panels on the right side of the car on the floor. And then we are going to have to isolate and see the best places where we will cut wires. I hate doing this, but this is Porsche. Fight fire with fire. So let him do that, and then I'll come back tomorrow and we'll continue this. All right, we're here the next day, and panels have been removed. The seat has been removed here, and this side panel over here. So I was interested in getting to that harness over there, and this is my network wire that I have pulled up this side. So here's the game plan. We're going to cut that wire over there, and I decided to be responsible and actually get connectors. So this is a male and female connector, which I am going to put in line after I cut. That way, should I get this car again, I have my own connector points that I can disconnect and easily isolate the networks. And those connectors easily fit inside this cradle over here, and we're going to cover that. So not much damage is going to be done. So we're going to cut this network here, go to our picoscope and see if our pattern will remain or go away. If it remains, then we need to go to the other side and do the same. If it goes away, then we're going to go to the back and see what's up with the back over there. Okay, that is done. So what we're going to do is disconnect the connector, and then we're going to go to the picoscope and test that wire. Okay, the picoscope is running, and I'm not going to start it. I'm just going to bump this key like this so we can wake up the network. And let's pause it, and let's analyze what we have over here. And we see that with that node disconnected, we still have our defective CAN low here. Okay. So what we're going to do is to go back that side and connect that connector, and then come on the driver's side and we're going to disconnect. Now I won't show putting the connector on this side. What I'll do is I will cut the wire, put the connector, and then we're going to pick up from there. Now there's something else interesting. I did notice that on this side, there is no passenger memory module on this side. So this car only has the right module. So I wish I knew that before. I wouldn't have bothered with that side. I would have just attacked this other side. But anyway, what do you do? So let's do the driver's side. Okay, here we are on the driver's side, and I have already installed my connector on the network wires, and we are disconnected. Let's go to the scope and see what happens to the network with this disconnected. Okay, we are ready to do that. Let me bump my key and check that out. Beautiful. So let me pause that. And we no longer have our defective CAN low. And these are excellent communication. So this is all dual wire communication. Now, that tells me that our problem is from the driver's seat going back. So there are only 3 modules from the driver's seat going back. There's the memory seat, there is the rear right door, and there's a comfort system at the back. One of those nodes in between them is affected. So let me see how I can address this one. Okay, our last test point was here, and that is where I have put my connector. So I've connected it again, and now let's come to the back. And our next test point is right here. So I've already put the connector, so let's disconnect the network from here. This is, you can already hear the instrument cluster beeping. This is going to separate the front of the car from the back. So the only thing that we are separating from here is the comfort control module in the rear. So right now the seat is connected, the door is connected, the comfort is disconnected. Let's go to the scope and see what happens. So as we can see here, we still have our open CAN low line. So the comfort module at the back has no problem. We have an issue between the door and the seat. It's one of those 2 areas. So now we are going to isolate the 2, or see if there's a common node in between the 2. All right, so I have raised the driver's seat, and there are our modules. And right here, what we see some funky activity. It looks like somebody has messed around, because those are the CAN wires. I can see 2 CAN networks there. There's the comfort CAN and there's the display CAN. Those don't look very good. So let me go in there and separate them and see what's going on. But I think we found our problem. All right, let's see what we got. Now the question is, what was somebody doing here? I think I know the answer. There is a video that I did for a battery drain on a Porsche, and it was the first Porsche that I ever did. So go and look at it here. This is the title of the video. So after you've watched this one, go look for that video, and you will note from that video that in this location there was a phone module. Now in that video, the battery drain was being caused by the telephone module. So I elected to remove the permanent battery power from the phone module and only give it the ignition key on power, and that solved that issue. And now somebody in the comment asked me, why didn't you just disconnect the telephone module? Well, I did. And you know what happened? What I realized was that the radio stopped working, the sound system, and the owner was completely unaware that his telephone module and sound system were connected. And he said he loves the sound system. So he told me, do not do anything to my sound. Oh my goodness, that was some heavy rain we got last night. I had to abandon ship. It was way too much. It caused a lot of flooding in the city. Well, we're picking up the next day. So what I was saying is the telephone module is right here, and the owner told me that he does not want his audio interrupted because when I disconnected it, his audio was interrupted. So I ended up bypassing the permanent battery power, and that solved the problem it had. So that's what I assumed was happening over here. But now that I've opened this harness, I'm seeing it's not the case. I don't think this is a case of tampering. This looks like it's a problem that has been built in from factory. So just to recap, this is where we are. So this is the main harness, and as you can see, we are coming from the front, which is that side, and in here, that's where our connector is. And then back here, this harness came and it's split into three. So one comes up here to the doors, one goes under there to the seat, that's this one here, and then one goes back here, which is under there, this one here, it goes to the rear, and the rear is where we had the other connector that we put. So when I saw one wire, network wire coming from here, and then all these network wires, I knew we were very close to the splice location. So I decided, let me look for it. And it's on the door harness. So this one is the door harness. So there it is. That's the harness for the door right here. And these are your factory splices. Now, these are one of the worst splices that I have seen in my life. Shame on you, Porsche. These factory splices are so bad. You should take some game from the Japanese. They know how to make splices. They encapsulate them and they're tight and they never go bad. These look like they were made by some kindergarten students. I mean, they're so badly done. And one of these has a problem, and it's our comfort can, and it is the can low. And the can low is the orange and brown. Oh, right here, actually. Look at that. Right on camera. I got it. So that is your factory splice point right there. Well done, Porsche. Bravo. So we're going to repair this, and I'm going to check the rest. I don't think we're going to have good success with any of these. Let me just pull this one out. So that's what it looks like inside. It's not even... What the hell is this? This is not... I don't know what it is. Guys, are you seeing this? What is this? It's not a solder joint. It's not a crimp. I honestly do not know. I've never seen anything like this. And it's black. That tells me it is corroding. So we're going to redo all this. So this is why they don't give us the splice locations in the manuals, because they don't want us to find this. They know that if we give the splice locations in the manual, we're going to find some junky ass splices from factory. Ridiculous. So let me fix these, and we'll just fix all of them, because these are network cables and I do not want to come back here. And this one is a power cable over here, terminal 15. Okay, so let's see how far down the corrosion goes. We need to be clear of it. Not too bad. May have been lucky. I did a Mitsubishi Galant one time where the corrosion had traveled down so far into the wire. Let's check this one, see. Yeah, let's go a bit farther down. So for those of you who love to buy Porsche, Land Rover, and Mercedes-Benz, pay attention. These cars in my country have a lot of status. So the people who drive these cars are the big businessmen, the rich guys, the ballers, you know. But the funny thing is, these cars are so badly built. The plastic is bad quality. The reliability is terrible. And you guys don't see it like we do. We have a very realistic perspective of what these cars are like. And if you dare try and tell them this, the owners or the people who are buying these cars, I tell you, you will be hammered. And you'll be told, oh, you're just hating, it's because you don't have money. Yeah, they are very defensive, and they just don't know that they are driving expensive pieces of shit. And it's a shame. It's really a shame. For me, I do not like seeing people being scammed. This to me is a ripoff. You should be able to make cars worth what they're costing. So if I buy a car that costs this much, honestly, personally, I would expect it to be way better than this. This to me is unacceptable. But, you know, to each his own. What do I know, right? I'm just a stupid mechanic. I'm just a guy who can't afford a Porsche. And who knows what I'm talking about. I love my job, guys. I really do. So that's my crimp, and it's going to outlive the factory crimps. That is my can low. So let me just do this guy a favor, put him out of his misery, and just do all these. I'm not going to film. I'm just going to do this, and then what I'll do, I'll squirt some silicone grease in here just to cover, and in here. Now, before you wonder why are you squirting silicone grease, I've already crimped them, so this part over here is already secured, you see. So the silicone grease is to stop moisture from getting on this end and from getting in on this end. You don't put the silicone grease in and then you crimp, okay? So calm your horses, you'll still get very good connection in there. So let me do this off camera. All right, there we are, all done. These are our 4 crimps. 2 for the comfort network, 2 for the display network. Beautiful. Now let's go to the scope and look at our CAN network before we neaten up this harness. Hey Porsche, give me a job in your factory. I'll set your guys straight. That's how they're supposed to be doing this. Now the key is on. Let's look at our CAN. And as you can see, now we have beautiful CAN network. So I'm going to pause this and let's briefly look at that pattern and see how it looks like. And as you can see, it's nice and clean. All modules now, according to the scope, are communicating on dual wire, no single wire communication. Now let's go to the scan tool and let's verify that by looking at the gateway single wire test. All right, it's Murphy's Law today. My Think the Ag subscription has just expired and I don't have the means to recharge it right now. I'm going to do that later. Luckily they have the launch here, so I've borrowed it. Let's go to the gateway. Key is on. And we're going to go to special function, single wire test, and as you can see, everything now is normal. We have no single wire communication in any of these systems. We have a few that are missing. I know park assist is installed in this car. I don't know what's up with that. Right seat memory, now I can confirm this is a misprint. This is supposed to be left seat memory, and then the right seat memory is the one that is good, because here I can see the left, it was somewhere. Here you see, this is supposed to be right, and this is meant to be left, because we don't have a left seat memory. But now, everything here that is of concern is valid. So now I want to view another network which was giving an issue, and that is the display network. I did not like the way it was looking, and it kept giving errors. The instrument cluster kept giving errors. So I want to scope the display network and see what's up with that. I want to see how it looks like, and then we proceed from there. Okay, we are back here at the gateway. Now I have pinned in my CAN high on the blue and CAN low on the red for the display network. Let's go to the picoscope and see how this display network looks like. All right, we are in the network. Let's put the key on. And this appears to be a different scaling and a different looking one. So let's come here, put it to 10 volts. And this doesn't look right. So let me pause. And let me zoom in here. Oh, this is not a good signal at all. Yeah, this is not good. So something is up with the CAN low again. But this is really messed up, and this time wiring will not do this, guys. There's a module here that's at fault. Because here on the CAN high, we're going up, but it's almost like we don't have a terminating resistor somewhere in our network. So let's open up a wiring diagram and let's look at that display high and low. Let's come here and mark it. Display high and display low. Where is it? Here. Then we're going to move down. See where it goes. Comes here. 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 Oh, not this one. It's this one. Then let's filter. So it appears that the display can only goes to 2 items. Yeah, that's correct up there. Goes to the instrument cluster, and another one goes to the control unit park assist. Since it looks like we don't have a terminating resistor, I'm interested to see, is this network connection reaching all the way to the instrument cluster? I want to see what's up at the instrument cluster. So let me call the technician, let him open the panel and take this out, and then we're going to scope the back there. This is one diagnosis that has a lot of disassembly. I think in future, I'm going to increase my prices for Porsche diagnostics. This is ridiculous. All right, our instrument cluster is released, and there are our connections, CAN high and CAN low right at the instrument cluster. Okay, let's put the key on. And interesting, we have exactly the same. So this signal is terminating at the instrument cluster, but with what's going on here, I don't think we can have any readings on it. So here on the left side, this is where we had put our first connector. That's the comfort network. The other network is right here. That is the display network. And I'm going to cut it here and put another connector. And I'll put a different style of connector because I don't want guys to plug them in crossed. So that's the style of connector I'll put. All right, repair complete, and we have disconnected that connector. Now let's go back and see what this network looks like. So what I've done is isolated the parking assist module at the back over there and only left the front. All right, let's go. All right, let's put the key on, see how this looks like. Interesting. That looks now like a CAN network. All right, let's zoom in here. And look at this. This is beautiful, but there's still an issue. It appears we do not have a terminating resistor in this circuit. Let's see. Let me just go on front. Yeah, I don't think we have a terminating resistor on this circuit. So let me put a terminating resistor on the side that we have cut. I think that terminating resistor is supposed to be in the park assist module. Let me get a decade box and set that up. All right, so there's my decade box set to 120 ohms, so 100 plus 20. And I am in the back of my network wires that goes to the gateway. Let's now look at the pattern and see if anything changes. All right, let's put the key on. Okay, let's pause and want to look at this. And it does appear that we have much cleaner signals. That's good. Then the other thing is, this is a normal CAN signal, so let me scale it to 5 volts. So this is how a normal can looks like. And let's bring this one to the same zero plane. And we pause. And that is beautiful. That is exactly how a normal can looks like. So now this can is happy. Display can solved. And now I'm wondering, has it solved the AC? Let me look at the scan tool, poke around, and then I'll come back on and tell you if anything has changed. But this has solved our network issue so far. All right, now the AC is not working, and I don't like this code that's inside the AC. 1299 gateway implausible signal. Why is this signal implausible? We scanned the can going to this AC, and it was fine as far as I saw. But at that time, we did have issues with the comfort can. I'm wondering if there is any other thing. The other thing I've noticed is when the engine is running, we don't have RPM signal, we don't have coolant temperature, we don't have fan speed. Basically, the engine data is not there. All right, I have checked, and there is no problem with those network connections. The network is terminating correctly, and the can high is the can high, the can low is the can low. I cannot ignore the error that we have in the air conditioning. So let's go in there again, and we're just going to see that code. That gateway code, I can't ignore because there is potentially a problem with this network and I need to find it. If I haven't found it, then I really haven't repaired this network the way I've been commissioned to do. So what I want to do is to back out of here, and I want to go to the wiring diagram, and I want to look at the powers and grounds for this module. I just want to make sure that it has all its powers and grounds. So let's go to the wiring diagram real quick. Now this has given me such a hard time. Air conditioning system 2x2. If I come here and I zoom, and this is the one I've been using, let's go to our connectors here. So I'm seeing 4 connectors, A, B, C, and D. And yes, we have 4 connectors on our unit, but I don't know which ones are which. They're not labeled. But I can infer by seeing what we know. I know where my can high and can low is. So here's my can low on D16, and here's my can high on D8. The problem is, where I have my can low and high on my unit, this connector is not 16 pins, it's 24 pins. And it really confused me. So we back out of here, and this is air conditioning 6A, where all references are made to. But if you go down here, there's pre-wiring air conditioning system right-hand drive front. So if we enter in there, we have another control unit. And by the way, this is like an hour later. So it gives you an idea of how much work went into this. So now I have, again, 4 connectors. And if I identify the one which has my can high and can low, you can see here, can low and can high are 17 and 18, and it's a 24 pin connector. So this matches with my unit. But then I could not find the can high and can low in reference to this unit. It didn't make sense. Well, it so happens that Porsche have wired this connector in a very peculiar way. So let me show you on the screen here what they have done. As you can see, the wiring is all over the place. You start in the middle row, then you go to the first row, then you go to the last row. That is so ridiculous. But now that I know that, I come back here to my wiring diagram. On connector E, we have got my ground, terminal 31, on E9 and E10. And then terminal 30 here, terminal 30A, is E5. So I want to test these powers and grounds and make sure that I am getting good power and good ground on this unit when it is running. So these are our connectors. I've marked them. Got E, A, and C. And connector E is where all our action is at. Now, power is on pin 5. This one is actually numbered correctly. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is here. And as you can see, we do have power. Actually, let me put the key on so that the unit is on. So you can see the unit is on and our power is steady. And now let's test our grounds. First ground is 9, second ground is 10. So the first ground is here. That is 9. That is good. And second ground is 10, which is next to it. And there it is. It is good. So our power feed and our two grounds are good. This unit has everything it needs to function. I honestly do not know why my air conditioning is not functioning. I want to look back at the live data of the air conditioning, and I just want to make sure that this is not a network issue, because if it's a network issue, if we replace this unit, we're still going to have this problem. So let me go to the live data and see what we can infer from there. All right, so let's go back into our air conditioning. The car is running because I want to see why exactly we don't have AC. So the code we have is still the gateway code, but I just want to go look at the live data. I'm going to look at all the data. I just want to see if anything will jump out at me. So these are footwell vents. Those seem to be positions. You can see here external temperature, there's nothing. Internal temperature is 30 degrees. Yeah, it is hot today. This looks weird. Why do we have 0 degrees on the intake air? Okay. We have a compressor off code. Actually, that is excellent. Let me turn on the AC. So the AC is running right now. And we have an off code of 8. The evaporator temperature is not changing. If anything, it's climbing. This is what I was telling you, we don't have engine speed. And radiator fan. So everything that's coming from the engine, it seems we don't have it. We have terminals 15 and X, which means we have full power. And look at this. This is the other confusing thing. Why do we have gateway communication? Yes. So this car is communicating correctly with the gateway. Why is it flagging a code then? I don't know. But something about off codes. Just go back here and look for that off code. You see this? Compressor off codes can be used for further diagnosis because it shuts off the compressor and it tells you why it's doing that. Right now we have an off code of 8. If I put off the AC. The AC is off. We have an off code of 7. So tell you what, why don't we go to the manual and see what code 7 and code 8 are. So 7 is when the unit is off, and then when I turn on the AC, we have a code 8. Interesting. So let's go to the manual and see what those are. All right, here we are in charm.li. Let's go to repair and diagnosis and heating and air conditioning. Control module HVAC, testing and inspection. Control module function, coding, programming, air conditioning system. Okay. Oh, beautiful. We have compressor off codes. So compressor off code in menu item input signals, the actual reason for compressor shutdown can be read out. Numbers from 1 to 23 are output. The meaning of each number is shown below. So when the compressor is off, we have code 7, system off, that's normal. But when I turn on the AC, we get code 8, outside temperature too low. Very interesting. So below 2 degrees, the compressor is off. Above 3.5 degrees, the compressor is on again. So what is this outside temperature? Let's go back to the scan tool and see. I want to look at the outside temperature and I see what value we have. Back on the scan tool, let's quickly take our live data, and I'm going to take a custom list. So we have the internal temperature. We don't have external temperature, and here it says intake air temperature sensor is 7 degrees centigrade. That doesn't really make sense. That's not correct. There's no way this can be correct. So tell you what, let's go out and let's go to the engine, and I want to see what information is coming from the DME. So from the engine, you can see the intake air temperature is 67 degrees centigrade. Now, is this what it's using? If this is what it's using, then we have a network issue because it can't pick this from the network. But I don't think it's what it's using, because if it can't pick it from the network, we would see nothing. We actually have a value. So I think we have another sensor that this unit is referencing for that temperature. So let's go back to the wiring diagram quickly and see where our temperature sensors are for the AC system. All right, let's go to this side, and we are going to look for our temperature sensors. So we've got evaporator temperature intake air. Okay, that is interesting. Let's mark it. Got this and that. Let's see if we have any other temperature sensors. I'm not seeing any other temperature. Shouldn't we have a core temperature sensor? Oh, here. Evaporator temperature rear. So these are the back of the evaporator. This should show you when it's cooling. Let's filter everything. And then first I want to see where this goes. Oh, it already says signal ground. So I don't need this line here, unless we have a problem right at the sensor. For now, I want the signal line only. And then let's unfilter and filter so that we remain with only those two. So this red line is the one of interest. So let me zoom in here. And look at this. sensor temperature signal. That's correct. That's for evaporator temperature rear. But look at this one. It just says flap, fan. I tell you, this data is really bad. So this is not a flap. This is the evaporator temperature sensor. And that is the intake temperature sensor for the evaporator. So I'm going to look for it and probe it. It's on A4. Let's find it and probe it and see what we have. All right, I found our green and brown wire and I've probed it. That's for the intake temperature sensor for the evaporator intake. Let's go to the scanner and see what the temperature is, and also to the pico, and compare what we have on the pico and what we have on the scanner. All right, the car is running and look at our temperature. It's -4 degrees centigrade. This is interesting. So right now we're off. Let me put the AC system on. And we have a code 8. And just like the manual says, we are not going to authorize the compressor because the outside temperature is too high. The outside temperature here is the temperature outside the evaporator. So this literally thinks that the cabin is -3 degrees centigrade. That is why it's shutting off the compressor. Now, I want to see whether I can trick this system. Let me get a potentiometer, and I want to bring that temperature up to normal temperature and then see whether our AC system is going to work. But I think we are on the right track. All right, this is my potentiometer. So what I have done is connected one side to battery negative, then the other side is on battery positive, and then the middle line I'm going right into my sensor line. So when I turn this, if you look on the pico, you will see that I can trim it up and trim it down. So I'm going to focus here on the scan tool, and I'm going to trim this up until we get a temperature closer to our cabin temperature, which is about 31, 32 degrees centigrade. Then we're going to see if this fixes our issue. All right, let's put our key on. And we're going to put the AC off. Select our live data again. Let's put this to the top. And right now our intake temperature sensor is nothing because I've ported it completely off to 0. Now let me add that value slowly. Oh, this thing is sensitive. Wow. I don't want to go too high. It is extremely sensitive. Okay, I think that's good. So what I'm going to do now, I'm sure I've created a few codes. So we're going to escape here. And we're going to read codes. Yeah. Erase those codes. Read the codes again. So we only have the gateway code in there. Remember, the whole purpose of doing this is to find out, do we have a network issue or something else? So we're going to put the car off, wait for about a minute, and then we're going to start the car and see if we're going to get any AC action. Okay, we're running. Let's put on the AC. We've still got a code 8. Well, that can be correct because now our intake air temperature is good. So let me do this. Let me put off the car. and I want to put it off for longer. Actually, before I do that, I want to see whether we have another code. Three codes again. No, we still have the gateway code. So let me put this off, and we're going to wait for a longer period of time, like 5 minutes. All right, it appears that the system had to completely power down to reset. I had to disconnect the power lines, and now let's put on the AC, and now you can see we have code 15. Code 15 is a normal compressor operation, and if you look here, the evaporator temperature front will start dropping. It's already cooling down in the cabin. We've got nice vent temperature coming out. AC is working. That is brilliant. So this is a bad intake air temperature sensor on the evaporator. So we will have to tell the garage to replace that. First, I want to go there and just make sure that the line is terminating correctly at the connector, and then we will tell them to replace. But if that's the case, our work here is done. This was such a time waster, but at least we got it done. So let's watch that temperature go down. I want to see how low it will go. And by the way, I don't think this is correct either, because it's very cold coming out of the vent and we still have an evaporator temperature of 18 degrees centigrade. So it appears both our sensors aren't functioning correctly. So this one I've completely changed its value. This one is not correct. This is supposed to be at around 4 degrees from what I feel on the vent, because this vent is very cold. So I'm going to recommend that we replace both these sensors, the front and the rear temperature sensor. But first I want to go down there and just make sure that our readings are correct. I just want to make sure that the supply voltage is getting down to that sensor. So for the location of where this is, we come to heating and air conditioning, and then we go to sensors and switches, HVAC, evaporator temperature sensor switch. Actually, not that one. It's discharge air. The evaporator temperature will show you the cabin temperature, which you don't want. So that's been mislabeled. It's discharge air temperature sensor, and then service and repair. And this diagram gives you all the switch positions. Evaporator temperature sensor, intake air temperature sensor. Number 2 is our sensor of interest. But I am going to suggest we change both 1, the evaporator temperature sensor, and 2, because this one doesn't appear to be reading correctly either. So let's quickly go here, see if we can find that connector. I want to look at it, and we're also going to test whether we have our module voltage reaching this sensor. All right, so that diagram is shown upside down. Our unit is way upside down. So let me show you where it is. That's our glove box compartment there. And we go in. And right at the firewall there, you can see that is the temperature sensor for the intake. So what I'm going to do is disconnect it, and then we are going to probe the sensor side of it, and I want to see my line voltage reaching all the way here up from the control module. If I have that line voltage, we are done. We need a new sensor. All right, that's our connection over there. I have used a probe and we are connected down here to the picoscope line. Let's see what voltage we have on that line. All right, connection is done. And right here at the pico, as you can see, we have 5 volts on that line. So we are done. We have a bad evaporator intake air temperature sensor. Wow, this has been a journey. 2 network problems: the comfort network having bad splices and the display network being interrupted by a bad packing control module corrupting the data on the line. Then we have an AC that is non-operational, actually had nothing to do with the network. All it needs is the intake air temperature sensor. Half the car taken apart, wasted time. It has taken me, honestly, a number of days going and coming back. This is sometimes how it goes, guys. Diagnosis on Porsches are such a pain in the butt. Expect this if you do Porsches. And in fact, from now on, I'm increasing my prices on Porsche diagnostics. This is not viable for me to do diagnostics this way. So now the question comes in: who pays for the AC diagnosis? Is this going to be a payment that is extra for the AC diagnosis on top of the network diagnosis, or do we just let this one go? This comes down to one question: who do you listen to? Do you listen to the service advisor, or do you listen to the technician on the ground? The obvious answer is you listen to your service advisor. Why? Because he's the one who's paying you. The technician is not paying you. But he got it wrong. He told me to fix the network, and yet the AC had a problem. But guys, this is where wisdom comes in, and this is where pragmatism comes in. I'm very pragmatic and I'm very practical. I'll be honest with you. Had I been told to fix that AC, I would have done exactly the same process. Do you know why? What do? When you scan the car, what does it give you? All sorts of errors on the network, and that is part of the network. And that is also complaining about communication with the gateway. Had I been told by the service advisor to fix the AC, we would have still gone down the network path. Because of that, I have to be very honest with you. I'm not going to charge extra for this diagnosis. Even though the service advisor got it wrong about the AC, my diagnostic process would have been exactly the same. I would have chased a network problem and would have ended up still repairing the network and still ending up seeing that the problem is not the network. Now I'm beginning to think that the issue with that gateway communication code, I don't think it's a code. I think it's the use of aftermarket scan tools. I would like to see what the code is for this unit with the original Porsche scan tool, because this thing is actually communicating and there's nothing wrong. It is what it is. I lost out on this one, but again, for you guys, again for my channel, and I will still maintain my relationship with the garage. I'm not going to cheat them that they owe me more for diagnosis. They don't really. That's it. Very interesting one. Frustrating because of the data layout of Porsche, but in the end, we have exorcised the demon from this car in the name of science. Follow your evidence, follow the data, let the data take you to the problem. Until next time.